right from the beginning, and all of the things that dwell on don't hold as much weight as they used to. And I was so overwhelmed, it seemed like I was just spinning my wheels. As far as I can tell, my soul will grow old no matter how I feel. The world ain't waiting on another day. I may as well mess around and make hay. When love is lost and a lesson's gained, and with what remains, pack up everything, hey, keep moving on. Don't hesitate to keep the tempo up. Keep moving on. Let it hurt, it won't last long. Pardon my cold behavior, I don't have time to be stressing impressions. And all of the time I gave up, almost half of it passed while I was second guessing. The world ain't waiting on another day. I may as well mess around and make pay. When love is lost and a lesson's gained, and with what remains, we pack up everything, hey, keep moving on. Don't hesitate, keep the tempo up. Keep moving on. Let it hurt, it won't last long. The world ain't waiting on another day. I may as well mess around and make pay. When love is lost and a lesson's gained, and with what remains, we pack up everything, hey, keep moving on. Don't hesitate, keep the tempo up. Keep moving on. Let it hurt, it won't last long. Oh yeah, keep grooving on. Don't hesitate to keep the tempo up. Oh yeah, keep grooving on. Let it hurt, it won't last long.
Man, how's it going? I haven't seen you in like forever.
Yeah, it has been a minute, huh? I'm good. I'm good. Just doing the work stuff,
Yeah.
trying to survive. And
I'm just trying not to die at this point. Like,
honestly, that's like really the goal, is just to not get sick and die. So that's all good.
I'm hoping that that doesn't change between this and when I post the video.
Yeah, that would be a little awkward.
That would be sad as
Oh no.
Well, hey man, I'm super pumped. Like, thanks so much for being down to do this and releasing your stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I just thought it was a really cool idea. You don't hear people talk about adoptees that often, especially when it comes to like music too. It sounds like there is like a bit of a correlation there. Obviously, you've probably done a bit more research on this stuff than I have. But
I wouldn't even say like research and stuff, but I think, well, first of all, I mean, I didn't really know November was National Adoption Month.
yeah, that's me either.
And until maybe just a couple of years ago, and then kind of asking like, how do we even fit into that? Where people are like, what are you gonna do for it? I'm like, I don't know, like just
I have no idea.
like wake up like normal.
Yeah,
Like,
am I supposed to tell more people that are adopted? I think most people that I know already know. Yeah.
I don't know how often you see your folks and stuff, but it's like you go out with them, and it's well, this is not your standard nuclear family here. Like, what's going on?
For sure.
It's like,
There's plenty of that.
I mean, it's crazy, and I think it's like this weird thing. Is like as soon as you like leave the comfort of your own home, it's whatever. There's like this, I don't know, this something, this aura about it that some folks get really confused about.
Yeah, it's just different. Or people like they just don't understand it right away. Like they don't like their mind doesn't go to adoption. It goes somewhere else. Like I have like experiences like shopping like with my mom or something. And you just get the vibe, like when you get to the register and you like got a bunch of clothes or something, that like this guy thinks that like my mom's like my sugar mama or something, and it's just like we've like played it up before because there's been times where it's like
sick.
That's definitely what they think, and like we'll mess with people, but it's just funny. Like how do you not just like think that,
Well, I mean, man, I haven't had that experience. That's hilarious. But usually it's kind of like if you're gonna go and order food at like a restaurant for fast food, or even like they're gonna seat you. Are you guys together? Is this the same group or?
Yeah, that's a good one. I remember like in the past, if I was like out for dinner with like a girlfriend or something with my family, and I could tell like the people like looking that like they obviously think that like I'm the outside person in this situation, right? Like it's like my mom and my dad, like the two white people, and then like the girlfriend or whatever. And they look at it, it's like, oh, like good luck for this guy. I'm sure he's scared or whatever, but like, yeah, it's just interesting. Like you don't know. Just
no. Well, man, so we went to music school together, but I don't think I've ever even asked you like, how did you get into music? Because I know that you initially were going to NDSU for football, right?
Yep, yeah. I was playing football there, and I was actually in music there as well.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I was in choir. It's a little bit of a different program. It's like it's a little more geared towards like classical and like choral stuff. Like
sure,
more emphasis where like at MSUM, you could say like it's a similar emphasis to their like music education program. Like it's more geared towards that. Most of the people come through there.
Sure.
Choral teachers or something like that. But yeah, I got into music when I was young. My dad played the organ a little bit. We had one.
Oh, no way.
At our house, and I got into piano lessons, and I always loved to sing. I had like the Mickey Mouse, like the bounce along the ear sing along.
Yeah.
I had so many of those, and I would just like sit downstairs in my room and just like sing those.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, so I always loved music and making noise as a kid with like ADHD. It was just like a good kid.
So then what kind of made you make the jump of this is the thing that I like doing to now I'm gonna go to college and pursue it?
Really, it was just when I was just thinking about like what I want to do with my life or the things that I enjoy. For most part, it was music. The classes that I liked most were choir and jazz choir and band and whatever. So I've always believed that like if you do something that makes you happy, you should just do that.
Absolutely.
Like you can't always decide to do things for money, and I love money and trying to make it. Don't get me wrong, but I know at the end of the day I can be as rich as I want to be. But if I'm not, at least don't have a studio in my house or like whatever. I gotta have music around me. Feel like myself.
When did you get into writing your own music?
I started doing that probably my sophomore, junior year in high school. Probably is when I started writing songs. A lot of it was like hip hop. It was one of my friends and I would like make beats and we would like rap over it.
Oh, sick.
It was not great, but it was not terrible either. But yeah, that's how I kind of started. And at MSUM, you know, I wrote things. I think we worked on a song like very early in school. It was like Lonely Afternoon or something like that.
Yeah.
Worked on that once, and that was fun.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I forgot about
I've been
that.
writing for a long time. It's just
Sure.
I haven't really released anything because I'm very much like, as most musicians are, I think, just like very like protective, and I just want to be perfect. You know, I want to be right. So
You know, there's the protection, there's the perfection aspect of it, and then there's the whole like it's very vulnerable, you know,
Yeah.
depending
Oh,
on
absolutely.
the subject matter and everything like that, where it's like, oh God, I'm really gonna say this into a microphone, aren't I? It's like
Yeah, the content, like you're really letting people into your lives, and even outside of that, I think it's a funny thing where it's a little less. You feel a little less vulnerable showing someone who's like a complete stranger, who like doesn't know anything about your life. But
Right.
like if I show the song to somebody who knows me well, like they know exactly what I'm talking about without saying it.
Yeah.
So it's like you feel a little more vulnerable with that.
Yeah, because then if it's a stranger, this is like the first gateway into you.
Yeah.
And so, since you've written it, you can kind of construct it in a way that is very intentional versus someone that knows you. It's like, oh, you know a lot about me.
Yeah, exactly. Like they got the context.
So, you grew up in Fargo, correct?
It's tough to say. Like I grew up, we moved that around a bit just because my dad's job. But it was like fourth grade till ninth grade. I was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, or actually T, South Dakota, which is just south of there.
Okay.
And then my high school years, I was in Fargo, and then onward until basically now.
Gotcha.
But,
Was there a big difference between growing up near Sioux Falls and then coming to Fargo? Like, did you notice there just in like the vibe or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely, but not so much because of the two cities. I think it was just like one. I lived in T, which is a town of South Dakota. I lived in T, South Dakota. It was like 8,000 people in the town, maybe.
Okay.
It was a really small town. And
Yeah.
I could go run around the entire town, and my parents were like, "He'll be fine," like he'll be back home or whatever it is. Like to make my fun in a lot different ways than you do in Fargo. You can go places. There's like just run around the neighborhood.
That size of community, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a higher chance of you knowing a lot more people.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So
I mean, anybody who's around your age, you know them, you know their parents,
Right.
You see everybody everywhere, your neighbor's the mayor, the next neighbor's the mayor, and everyone's intertwined when it's that small.
Sure,
No
sure.
secrets either.
So growing up in T, what was that like in terms of growing up in a transracial family?
It was different. Honestly, the adoption thing there, I feel like it wasn't as big of a thing. I feel like just because, again, with it being such a small town,
Yeah.
it's like you just like all of a sudden everybody knows. So it's not a topic. Like nobody thinks like, oh, like once everybody sees like, oh, there's this non-nuclear family, like it's a little different. Oh, it's just like Okland's. But like it's a little different when you go somewhere where like you don't know everyone. Honestly, there it wasn't much a thing. But I mean, being black there was a little different. It's a much smaller town. It was probably me, my sister, and I think there was like one black family. Like all seven was chilling.
Right.
It's different, like that aspect of living in the Dakota.
It's kind of like your identity is just you, like, oh, there's Andrew, and that's kind of it. But when you go into kind of this bigger area, right, where they know nothing about you, they know nothing about your family.
Yeah, you become a little bit more of a number.
How has being adopted affected the music that you write?
I think it's almost like the other way around. So like the being adopted and how it affects my music, I'd say it's like it's a really important portal for me to like let out some of these emotions. I'm sure like with like being adopted, like sometimes it's hard to talk about, like even with your parents, like, there's like a degree of like you feel like guilty or something like that, or
Right. Or you kind of want to protect them, right?
yeah, you want to
'Cause-
protect them,
yeah, yeah.
or like, you know, whatever they feel too, because obviously like I haven't been on that side of it, but I think it's just been important for me to learn like how to express myself, and a lot of times it's through music, and the songs that I write are usually about, you know, things that have happened in my life or things that I've felt, or like ideas that have been brought about. And I think being adopted, it made me have to find some sort of alley to get that out. I've written songs about being adopted too. I think you played on one of those. Actually,
Yeah.
with the house show.
Because if you don't have the outlet, all of that mixed with just growing up through like adolescence and you're like being a teenager and stuff, like I feel like if you don't have some sort of outlet, whether it be through like expressing it or just like I gotta go take a run or something.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I think if you don't have that, I mean, it can be a really miserable experience.
No, definitely, and it's tough because there's not a lot of people to share it with. You know, you don't meet that many adopted people.
or right, or there, if you want to share it with your non-adopted friends, it's like they can only imagine,
right,
and try and just have empathy from your experience, but there's not a thing where they can be like, me too.
Exactly, yeah. Which is tough, especially when you're young. You know, you just want the answers.
Yeah, you want the answers, and then I don't know about you, but I think growing up I had a lot of like, well, why me?
Yeah.
You'd look around in your classroom and like, well, is you know, and ask about my best friend. Well, are they adopted? Like, well, no. Well, why? You know, and that's and like trying to explain that to like a first or second grader. I don't really know how.
Yeah. Well, yeah. How do you explain like it's so complex and so unique to every person. I think too. Situations are so different. Like your situation is a world, almost literally a world from my
on the other half.
You know, yeah, on the other half. And you know, there's just like there's no blanket statement for any of it.
You have, I think, kids who are really curious and interested, and they have all these questions. And then there are others who are like, you know, I really don't want to tap into that. I'm not interested
in shut it out for whatever reason. Lack of interest sometimes even, or be scared or whatever.
Yeah.
Because, you know, obviously that's a tough thing. I could talk about being able to just like shake your roots, you know? It's a big life thing. It's like meeting your creators.
Yeah. they're like these mysterious like things, you know, because I don't even have like pictures, so I can't even imagine what they
it's
look like.
Definitely, again, like that's just like the difference where like for me it's like I had an open adoption. I know exactly who the two people are. I know what they look like. I cried when I saw a picture of my dad because he looked just like me, dude.
Sure. Man, I
was like,
that's incredible.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, you know.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people in, you know, a normal family or whatever, you see it all the time. You know, it's normal that there's this person that looks like you, and I never like had experienced that, and it was like very deep for me.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. I don't know, like it makes you feel like a little like a part of something sometimes too, or like you know, I don't know how to describe it, to be honest, but it was interesting. It was like I'm glad I got to experience that. It was kind of hard and like emotional.
There's like this absence of a thing, and maybe by seeing that somehow it doesn't get completely filled, but there's something there. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but yeah, and it's like it's interesting because, you know, you sometimes, I think adopted people, we feel very isolated sometimes inside, like a little bit like even though you've spent so much time with this family and they know everything about you, they probably know more about you than you do, you know, they raised you, but there's like, you still like, for whatever reason, you feel like you might be like missing something, you know, this magical, whatever they talk about in the movies of you know, a mother and their child or whatever. And I think like a lot of it is just being able to either find those answers for yourself and see if that thing is real, or just be able to like understand that like love is love, man. Right, absolutely, yeah.
And that's all it's really got to be.
What piece do you think is missing in conversations about adoption? Do you ever feel like the things that you do hear about it are coming from people who adopt versus people who are adopted?
Um, that's a really interesting question. I think yeah, for the most part, when you hear people talk about adoption, it's like from their point of view, like they're gonna adopt, right? That's true. Like you really do hear that a lot more. But as far as like something missing, it's tough. Like, 'cause like, what do you talk about, and what is like, is there some sort of like, is there an issue? Like, are people getting hurt, or like, are we
Right.
like maybe mentally messing with these adopted kids a little bit by how we talk about it?
Mhm.
And honestly, I don't really know, because like I said, it feels so
Right.
unique to
Mhm.
every person. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I know people who are adopted where like they see their birth parents all the time and they lived with another family, and it's like it's different. Or like there's my situation where I know who they are.
Hmm.
I haven't like met them, but we've had conversations about,
Yeah.
you know, like what happened and why I was adopted, which is like
Right.
very important, you know. And then like there's your situation, I don't know how much you know, and it's like, how do we get all these people on the same like mental playing field?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and I think that's important, but I don't
Mhm.
even know where you start to do that.
Right. Maybe something that you had maybe alluded to earlier is that sometimes this feeling of guilt, that's a complicated thing because, you know, if someone feels guilty about asking kind of where you come from and stuff, but then on the flip side, you have all these other people who are like doing like these big, extensive like family tree endeavors, or people who are like, you know, I'm like 8% Irish, so St. Patty's Day is my day, you know? I don't know, maybe like I would kind of feel robbed if like, well, why do they get to, you know, do these extensive things, you know, to kind of like look further into the past, but then I somehow feel like I'm not allowed to ask those questions. I don't know, that's
Yeah.
maybe kind of where I'm at, but
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, the guilt thing is just like, maybe that's what we should talk about more, is that it's important to have the conversation if it's there, you know, and like,
yeah.
and try to come to it without being able to like be hurt, and just hear the other person, especially in this sort of situation where it's really just information that you want.
Yeah.
There's no like, there's nothing that's going to change.
Right. There's no like
With the
undo button.
information. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing's going to change. It's just, you know, and maybe you know a little bit more on the why
Mhm.
aspect, and maybe that gives some people peace, you know. But I
Yeah.
think it's just important to be able to have the conversation without fear of
Absolutely.
hurting someone. And
Mhm.
I think that should be talked about.
Let's talk about the tune that you did for this.
Yeah, sure.
So is that like a newer thing that you
Yeah,
wrote?
it's one of the newest tunes, vocal ones for sure. We've been writing a lot of instrumental stuff.
Cool.
Our little funk band. Um, but yeah, I wrote this tune last summer, like right after I moved over here. And I was just going through some stuff, man, and I think I just wrote this song as like as a reminder to myself to just, well, yeah, literally just like keep grooving on, man. I'm always like the person where like I can spend time like being all sad and feeling bad
Yeah,
for
for
myself,
sure.
and I think everybody has to do some capacity
Yeah.
of it. But like to one point, it's like, you know, I can spend time being sad, or I can just like roll forward or cry
Yeah.
walking.
Right,
You know?
right. You know, I think some people like really excel at that's the destination is feeling sad. Like, but no, like there are other places to go
Mhm.
beyond that. But I think
Music.
everybody kind of has to take their own time with it. But yeah, it's. I mean, I'm really good at feeling sad, but it's like I don't want to feel sad all the time.
Mhm. And
Well,
it comes with the other side too. I'm very good at deflecting the sadness from
oh,
later.
sure. You know, because I wasn't sure about like when the timeline for when you wrote the tune, because I mean, I feel this intense desire to kind of like push through and move on has been a really big theme pretty much since like March.
Yeah, and it really did
And
line up nice that way. And the
yeah.
thing about it too is it's such like, it's such a universal thing anyway. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of times with like what makes good songs is like getting like as close to the cliche as you can without without quite doing it, yeah, it usually turns out okay lyrically. I mean, and what is this really saying other than it's like keeping on? I'm sure there's a host of cliches you could throw in that one, and it would be the same thing. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, it was really a letter to myself, and every time I listen to it, every time I sing it, I feel like I can just go through it or whatever. Really good.
I think between a lot of the fatigue that's come from the pandemic, and
Oh, sure.
I think just a lot of the political frustration.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of creative people having to musically remind themselves and maybe their audience base, we got to keep going. We can't.
Yeah.
We can't. This is not the end stop. We can't let this be it.
That's exactly it. It's like
But
no matter who wins, we got to keep. We got to
yeah,
keep.
absolutely. I mean, like the sun. I mean, I think we kind of said this 4 years ago. Like the sun still came up.
Yeah.
It just was like gloomy.
Yeah. It just was a bad day.
Like
It's
gloomy
just a bad day.
and like super hungover for me or whatever.
Me too. It was a rough morning.
Yeah, man. It's
Yeah,
like,
we made
oh.
it.
How have you stayed inspired from the pandemic on? Because I think that was that's been like a big disruption to like what we get to do.
It's tough. It's really tough. But honestly, I try to set time aside. 2-3 times a week to just sit at the piano or sit with my bass or whatever it is, and just create something.
Yeah.
Even if I have no idea what it is, like it could just be some chords. Or the other day, I basically wrote like a tune for like Mario Kart. It's pretty funny. And I might actually have to have you play the guitar parts, but anyway, like you just gotta make stuff, and then the ones that you look back, the next week and go, oh, that was pretty good. Like you chop it up and like try to make it into something a little better. And as far as like staying inspired, I don't know. I try to read poems or hitting random on Wikipedia. Like there's stuff out there. I just like all it really takes is one idea.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. All it takes is one idea. So like you get one, and then you just run with it as far as you can until you get the writer's block, and then you, I don't know, put it down for a while.
That seems like a really, in a way, freeing process, because I think sometimes I like go into a thing and I'm like too afraid of it sounding like dog shit, where it's like I'm like, oh, I can't. And it's like, no, like f- it, like just
yeah, screw it, like
yeah.
whatever it is, just write it, put it out there, and then guess what? You don't have to release it. If it sucks, you could like play it for your friends, like, dude, look how terrible this song is that I wrote. Like, it's so bad. Or like you might think that, and then you show it to them, but like, oh, like that's cool, but I think this is what you were trying to do.
Yeah.
Like
getting other people involved can be like a really incredible like I how do you even hear it this way? This is another completely other side to what I was trying to do with it.
It's really nice too, especially once you get like a nice like core group. Like I work a lot with like Andrew Nelson and Michael Beatrez.
Oh, cool.
And we write quite a bit, the three of us together.
Very cool.
And initially it was cool. Like we have all these, these three different people, and we all have honestly very different sounds and stuff by ourselves. But we've like slowly like started to learn each other's voice a little bit more. So like when, like Michael brings a song, like now I'm kind of like, oh, like I think I kind of know like what he would do, or like what his ideas
like
kind
what
of
he's
sound like. Yeah, exactly. Or like the same way with like Andrew. Like Carter used to talk about there's a guy for John Williams who would like fill in stuff for him just because he knew what his voice was.
Oh, like the ghostwriters?
Yeah. Ghostwriter John Williams.
Yeah.
He would just say like, eventually you start to figure other people out a little bit.
Right.
And when you have three people doing it that all know it about each other, like you start to get stuff going pretty quick.
Well, hey Andrew, thanks so much for being down to do this. It was great to catch up with you.
Yeah, it was really good to talk to you.
Yeah, where can people find you and your music?
Yeah, right now you just gotta find me on Instagram for now. I'll be putting out this EP hopefully in the next like couple of months. Find me on Instagram. We're doing a lot of projects out at that St. Paul house right now. I think Andrew Nelson's got a album coming up.
Oh, cool.
Andrew Johnson as well. Michael. I think he's gonna do EP soon.
Wow, yeah, that's awesome.
Lots of stuff coming through the pipeline. So
Very cool, man. Very cool.
stay tuned and stuff.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, good seeing you. I'll catch you on hopefully when the world is less crazy and deadly.
I would love that.
Cool, man.
All right,
All right, my dude. Take care.